Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Zoccola, Customer Success Manager at Microsoft. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Kate Matthews, Global Senior Manager, Global IT Technology Platforms at Accenture. Today, Kate and I are going to be discussing everything and anything Power Platform Center of Excellence and why it's such a critical component of success. Kate, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me.
Great. So, to get started, can you tell me a little bit about Accenture and how did you get started with the Power Platform?
Yeah, of course. So, Accenture is a global professional services company with more than 700,000 employees operating across 40 industries and serving clients in more than 120 countries. While most people at Accenture are externally facing, I actually work for internal Accenture. We feel if we can stand something up and do it at the scale to meet Accenture's needs, it puts us in a really great position to help others with the same technology. As far as how I got my start on Power Platform, it's actually an interesting story. It happened a couple of years ago. I was brought in to help one of our governance and compliance teams. Their team was spending hours each week in meetings or responding to emails, providing very detailed guidance in very repetitive fashion to multiple application teams all at the same time. And then trying to manually track progress, which just wasn't efficient. On top of that, the interest for the services they were offering was continuing to grow, which wasn't scalable. We saw an opportunity for improvement and looked for an innovative solution. We contemplated better spreadsheets, traditional development, maybe recording some things. But since this was really personal and team level and more productivity based, we pursued development on Power Platform, which was very new to our organization at that time, but gave us the flexibility to build and deploy at the pace we wanted. It was my first experience with Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate, all of it, very brand new to it. But what it led to for our team was the creation of a self-service digital hub that centralized and streamlined the application enablement process. We saw an immediate impact, and the value we created caught the attention of many other senior leaders. So the solution was actually been harvested back into our global IT organization. The scale and the future of the app far outgrew my citizen development skills. So I handed the app off to a different part of the org that wanted to take it to the next level with open consultation back to me. I then transitioned into a new role on our Power Platform COE, which is where I am now serving as the capability lead.
Wow, what a great story, an interesting segue into Power Platform. When I think
Yeah.
about Accenture being such a big company, I'm curious to hear why citizen development and how does it fit into the broader digital transformation strategy at Accenture?
Yeah. So Accenture, we're operating 90% plus in the cloud. But like any major enterprise, we still have more demand than can be met by our central IT team. And that continues to grow, something probably felt by many other organizations as well. We wanted to find a solution that would accelerate productivity and give our employees an opportunity to solve problems in real time. And that's where our journey with citizen development really began. We are a Microsoft shop, and Power Platform extends M365 so naturally that it was really an easy choice for us. I'm sure you know this, but Power Platform is really unique and disruptive, which was exciting because it's unlike other business and ecosystem platforms that are running core functions across our organization today. Power Platform is really for what is not covered, which we know is a huge opportunity for organizations. An added benefit for us, at least, is we're meeting people where they already work every single day. And Accenture being a multi ecosystem company, ServiceNow, Salesforce, among others, it allows us to meet more business use cases. With all of that in mind, we really set our North Star to be creating a Power Platform COE that would support this new initiative.
Pausing there, more broadly, what is a COE and why is it so critical for citizen development?
Very fair question. It's always good to start with defining some key terminology. A COE or Center of Excellence is a team of people providing strategic direction, operational oversight, and best practices. In this case, it was to establish a scalable and sustainable citizen development platform. And because we're talking citizen development, we're fully expecting and encouraging people with varying skill sets and experience to come and create on our platform So having a strong COE in place is especially vital. Accenture operates with a secure from start mindset. So while we wanted to give people a place to build, we wanted to ensure that we had a solid governance model behind it. And it's not just about available tooling either, but the people and the skills that you need to bring together to establish the foundations for development, security, and ongoing operations of the platform. You'll find when you start looking at all of these items holistically, it always leads back to your governance strategy.
Let's come back to governance in a minute. But first, how did you go about setting up and starting the COE?
Honestly, our COE started with just two people. We turned on one single environment, the default environment, and tried to limit the connectors that were available. And then we bought a pool of license.
Okay, so you have licenses, you have an environment.
Mm-hmm.
What came next?
Honestly, that's where things really took off. While it's tempting to turn all of it on at once, because there's a lot of it, we really adopted a crawl, walk, run approach. Knowing that we were targeting the full spectrum of no code to pro code, we worked to define our environment strategy, our customer experience, and how we would manage access to data. We started with the places that we were already mature today, so M365 and Office products, and we're able to integrate at that level first without much barrier to adoption, which really helped us learn more about the platform since, again, it was very new to us. From there, we brought in premium connectors. We started expanding by creating custom connectors to ecosystem partners, incorporated application lifecycle management, and figured out how product introduction and a framework behind that would work, which would allow us to quickly assess the new products and features being released by Microsoft and understand the impact to our solution. And honestly, Matt, this is where I really saw the evolution of our relationship with your team, and really the value of partnering so closely along this journey.
Great partnership it has been. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
Governance is such a hot topic when it
It
comes to the
is.
Power Platform.
Yeah.
How does Accenture strike a balance between enabling developers while maintaining this massive thing we call governance?
Yeah, that is a really great question. And we get asked about this a lot. We find people tend to think, oh, citizen development, that's going to be, the wild, wild west. But it doesn't have to be if you have the right checks and balances in place. I'm assuming, Matt, you're familiar with the concept of shadow IT.
Very familiar.
Okay. So for us, we define it as things we cannot see or control when we need to. So by standing up the platform and inviting our people to create and build, at its very core, we have gained visibility into what people are doing and how they are connecting, which starts governance at that platform level. From within the platform, Accenture has developed a shared model approach with a limited number of environments created purposely for different categories of use cases. Example would be the default environment, which is aimed towards personal and team level productivity build from citizen developers under a governance policy that promotes the values of the platform. As you get more advanced, think, your pro coders or maybe your more complex enterprise-wide business use cases. We can accommodate those in a number of limited other environments with a similar governance, but with more guide rails and additional rules for application management. If we think about data, Power Platform is very powerful because of its integration capabilities. There are hundreds of connectors available. Talking to the team actually just last week, and I was like, wait, how many new connectors have happened in the last 6 months alone? We at Accenture have a philosophy to block connectors from start, and then identify what and where to enable based on the strategic priorities of the platform, our data principles, and the demand from our users. We've also implemented a number of other processes in place today, like connector certifications, that allow us to evaluate and ensure that when we are turning on a connector and strategically placing it in an environment, that it meets all of our authentication expectations before it's even enabled.
A lot to think about with governance. Thank you for answering that one. You mentioned that your COE is set up to support no code to pro code.
Yes.
How do you accommodate that?
Yeah, it's interesting because with Power Platform, we're really striving to accommodate that full spectrum of developers, which, I mean, I don't know if you agree, I think is unique for this platform. Typically, you're geared towards a specific skill set or a specific audience, and they're coming in with a similar, expectation. And that's not the case here, at least not for how we've decided to implement Power Platform. So one way, and I glossed over this a little bit previously, was through our environment strategy. We focused on a limited footprint through a shared model, which works really well for no code to low code and even some pro coders. We have found, in addition to that, though, value in offering dedicated environments in certain situations with additional approval, of course. And one example of that is when we have a pro coder or a team of pro coders who are looking to use very specific functionality that we have not made generally available. We also use these more dedicated environments as an opportunity to run pilots and previews with some of our more advanced users and really kind of get buy-in to things that you guys are developing. Looking beyond simply configuration of the platform, we also spend a fair amount of time and energy on how do we strategically aid in our customers' journey, knowing that there are a number of personas that'll be coming to our platform, which actually led us to developing a suite of Power Apps aimed to help the novice up to the expert. And I think you can see on the slide here just kind of a snippet in what this suite looks like and offers. If you look at the far left, we start with our guide. Nurture, informational. How do I get started? How do I learn? What's actually available on the platform? We talked about connectors, Matt. I think you guys are up to 900. Does that sound about right?
It's always growing, Kate.
Well, to be transparent, we don't offer 900, but we want to make sure that our users know what we do offer and where it's available. Should I tell you the far left? That's our guide. Next is intake. There are lots of people that come to our platform and they can go and build and do in that default environment, and we never interact with them, and that's fantastic. But there are times that people need help. And so we've created an app that allows for customer intake. They can ask for things like a solution assessment, access to our connected environment, functionality that we don't offer today, maybe assistance developing, and we'll get to that more maybe later. And this allows us to not only interact more with our customers, but also monitor demand. As I mentioned, there's lots of connectors. There's a lot of different things you can do on the platform. And while we do have a strategy in place defined to help guide us on our journey, we also want to know what our people want. So that's where intake comes into play. The third app is all about application lifecycle management. Again, if we're gearing towards citizen developers, they're not the people that have all of the knowledge on trying to move apps between environments and all of the steps that go into that. And so we wanted to ease the burden. And so we actually created an automated onboarding and registration process that allows you to very seamlessly move between environments. And for those applications that really require that level of maintenance, we wanted that available. Acknowledging that not everybody does. Again, that default environment, people might never need some of the tools that some of the apps have to offer, but we have them available when you do. The last app, which is on the far right, is our newest edition. Actually, it just released back in January. And it's all about self-service. So we have people, myself included, who created an app and then changed roles. But switching the owner of the app was not that simple. And we wanted to figure out a way to help people so they didn't have to come through our admin process and wait on us to be empowered to do these things. So now we have things like change the owner, recover a deleted app, along with a handful of other things that previously would have required admin support. That's a lot to cover in 4 applications.
Tremendous.
I know. It's been really great, and it's been really cool. I mean, again, not everybody engages with all of the apps, which is perfectly fine. They're really geared towards certain scenarios, certain use cases. So we have them when you need them. We see a lot of engagement in that first guide application, and then the others, when it makes sense. Outside of the apps, we do have a couple other ways that we engage our community, and one of those is through Yammer. So I think, if we think about how developers typically interact like out in the world, it's more community and forum based. So we were trying to recreate that kind of culture for us as well. So we use Yammers and blogs to announce new things that are coming, take polls on like what products we should bring in next, other things. And we're finding that there's added benefit and value to that because we're also able to harvest from the community, whether that's new people joining our COE or ideas. And there's a lot of benefit from this type of model.
Okay, Kate. Wow, that was a lot too. Amazing, amazing stuff here. When you started, you mentioned two people. I'm
Mhm.
assuming you're not still operating your COE with just two people. So if that's true, what does your team structure look like now? And how did you get there?
No, definitely not two people anymore. Valid question. At this point, we are operating about 70 team members, 60 of which are full time on the project, located all around the world. And before that intimidates anyone, because I know 70 is a big number, I want to be clear that that growth happened very organically over time. One. And two, you don't need that size of a team to successfully run a Power Platform COE. For our organization size and for what we want to offer as a platform, it makes sense. Now, how is that kind of broken out? Outside of our leadership team, we have team members focused in four main areas. One is products and environment health. Another is customer management, adoption, and then customer solutions, which is actually our newest addition. And to expand upon that just a little bit, the customer solution team, which is I think over 20 people at this point, is actually dedicated to rapidly developing use cases with a chargeback model for internal Accenture teams. Something that we didn't previously offer. We've always operated under the principle of your idea, you build it, you support it. And while we still see most people choosing to follow that model, we found we were getting a fair amount of requests through our intake process asking for help to build. And so if that was not something that you wanted to offer as a part of your COE, you can see already that the numbers could easily fluctuate for how many you actually need to run a successful COE.
Sounds like some pivot and turns were required, and it's so great that you were able to do that. That's awesome. You're a couple years now into your journey with citizen
Mm-hmm.
development and Power Platform.
Yes.
What's your focus on now? And if you could maybe talk about if that's changed or how that's different from when you started.
Yeah. So we spent the first little while really laying the foundation. What does it mean to have that environment strategy? What does it mean to offer the connectors in different places? What does customer experience look like? A lot of the things that we've kind of already discussed. Um, this year, we really saw a pivot in our journey to more focus on involving our solution, meaning we are actively working to bring additional products and features, your Power Pages, PVA, RPA, SAP bundles, just to name a few, which actually led us to kick off our second iteration of environment strategy. In addition to product centric focus this year, we also are focused on real time engagement with our community. You guys do a great job announcing new things as they come and they're available in lots of different places. We want to make sure that our community realizes that we see this and we are evaluating things. So we've really looked to engage our community, let them know what we're up to, when we're doing things. Again, get their input. What do they want to see first? If you guys are offering two or three new things, think about upcoming wave releases. There's a lot that goes into those. What do we want to prioritize? And we use our community to help us with that. We did make a jump and purchase the Power App per user license versus that pool of license we originally had and spoke about earlier, which has led us to another adoption push. So certification drives, hackathons, learning sessions, the works there. We are building for others now. As I mentioned, we actually wrapped up our pilot back end of the last year, launched our official offering in January, seeing great interest in that new space. We're seeing what else we can do to make things easier. And one way that we're doing that this year is reusable assets. So we've got a catalog we've created. It actually lives in that guide application I mentioned earlier. And we are kind of massively creating pre-built templates for common use cases that we can plug in so that people can pick those up. And I mean, Power Platform is meant to be simple. This will take that to the next level. And we're hoping to expand that later this year and be able to take in templates from some of our customers or our users as well. We're also very focused this year on expanding our intelligent automation story, which includes both products from you guys and then what does it look like across the enterprise to really take full advantage of intelligent automation. Just to name a few,
Scaling to an organization of over 700,000 employees. Amazing, amazing. I'd like to talk a little bit about metrics and what specific metrics have you used to track the impact of Power Platform COE?
Yeah, that's a good one. Because it's not only its impact, its value, its adoption, is all of those. So yeah, of course, we take advantage of the great tools that come from the COE Starter Toolkit to track adoption and usage, a lot of which I think is reflected on this slide here. You can kind of get some insight into just our usage at Accenture as of late. We like to look at adoption both from a maker and from a user perspective across apps and flows at the summary level, and then dive in deeper, more specifically across our environments, which helps us to better understand how our platform is being used. We also perform some sample studies against popular use cases or popular solutions that have been developed from our citizen development community. And we're able to compare before and after the app or flow was built to gain insight into the productivity gained. So, looking at that application level value. And then we expanded this to create a productivity value index to help us quantify for the platform time saved, costs avoided, and then ultimately organizational level value as well.
Application value is such a great call out. Organizations that can understand the impact at the platform level and look at it then at the organization level, there's some amazing things that we can understand about the value that we're driving. So thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, what happens if the original use cases grow beyond the original scope?
Yeah, so that is a good question, and something that we're starting to see happen more or get at least asked about it more. And we do have a few instances where an app was built, for example, in the default environment and grew beyond what was probably originally anticipated to be a personal or team level item. And either they reached out directly to us and they're like, oh man, we are just popular now. What do we do? Or more often than not, we actually used a number of different metrics to help us proactively identify those use cases and then reach out to better get them aligned somewhere else in our environment model. Talking about, metrics and use cases, I would be remiss if I didn't spend at least a minute or two talking about environment health, which is really important to us. So in addition to the scenario you just mentioned above, we have a number of automations in place today where we look at things like orphaned apps and flows or inactive apps and flows and have cleanup actions in place to make sure that our environments remain as clean as possible. With citizen development, it's far too easy for someone to come in, play around, test something out, and then kind of forget about it. And we want to make sure that our environments stay as user-friendly, but as clean without a bunch of kind of forgotten mess in them. And you can actually see that reflected here. We actually have 13,000 flows that have been deleted through this environment cleanup process, along with, about 7,000 apps deleted, I think was the most recent number I got.
Just a couple thousand here and there. Environment strategy is such an important point, and thank you for sharing that. Kate, final question for you, and I would be remiss if I did not ask for all the amazing folks listening right now. What advice would you give to other organizations looking to implement the Power Platform Center of Excellence?
It's a big question, Matt. Let's see. I would say start by identifying the purpose of Power Platform for your organization. Who is your audience? Power Platform has the flexibility to be adapted in different ways. So a needs assessment is critical to getting started. Also, what is your North Star? Like, what is the end goal for your platform? Are you looking to build for others? Are you looking to support applications that have been built? Are you expanding it to everyone in your organization? Do you have a limited audience of just a certain amount of developers? All of these things play into governance strategy and how you want to configure, how you need to configure the size of your COE. In addition to that, because I obviously have more ideas as well, I can't stop at just one. Let's see. Okay, two more. Be intentional and create the right strategy and policies that work for you. This will hopefully help you prevent tech debt and be secure from the beginning. And then lastly, executive sponsorship can be very beneficial. We were very fortunate to have executive sponsorship from day one. And so, that is an area where not every organization might be as lucky as we were. But I think that can really help you, if you can find those people that can help push Power Platform to your org. And if you want to know more about executive sponsorship, actually, my managing director, Karen Odegaard, recently spoke with the PowerCat team and has one or two videos that should be coming available soon that talk specifically about, business use case for Power Platform and executive sponsorship.
Can't wait to watch those. A lot of great information.
Yeah.
Kate, thank you so much. All I can
Mm-hmm.
say is that your journey has been amazing, and I feel like you're just getting started. I am rooting for you. Microsoft is rooting for you. I have no doubt that you and the Accenture team are going to do amazing things on the Power Platform. And we thank you so much for being a customer and sharing all of your great insights with all the folks today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. It was great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I do want to say, for anyone that attended the Power Conference last year, which was September, there's obviously the other one coming up this year. We had a great opportunity to speak last year. We will be speaking again at the conference this year. So really looking forward to continuing to share our journey and the evolution of it. I'll be excited to see what we get done over the next few months before October hits.
Can't wait to hear that story and hear the continued journey on the Power Platform. So thank you again. So appreciate it,
Yeah.
Kate.
Great to be here.